Think about the last person who went quiet on you. Not because they were angry. Not because they stopped caring. They just never texted first. And somewhere in the silence, you started asking yourself a question you were never supposed to have to ask. Do they even think about me when I'm not there? If that question has ever kept you up at night, this video is for you. Because what you're about to hear isn't really about texting. It's about something much deeper. Something almost nobody talks about. Let's start with a story. Her name doesn't matter. Call her whoever you want. Maybe she reminds you of someone. Maybe she reminds you of yourself. She had a friend. A close one. The kind of friendship where you share playlists and inside jokes and 2 a.m. thoughts. But there was one thing she noticed, slowly over months. She always texted first. Every, good morning. Every, how was your day? Every, hey, I saw this and thought of you. All of it came from her. At first she didn't think much of it. People get busy. Life happens. But then one week, she decided to run a quiet experiment. She stopped texting first. Just to see what would happen. 1 day passed. Nothing. 3 days passed. Nothing. A week passed. Silence. And in that silence, something painful became clear. The friendship wasn't dead. But it had never really been mutual. It had only ever been carried. By her. Now here's the part that matters. This isn't a story about a bad friend. It's a story about a pattern that shows up everywhere. In friendships. In family. In relationships. In situationships that never got the courage to become anything real. There's always someone who reaches out first. And there's always someone who waits. So let's talk about the ones who wait. The people who never text first. Because their psychology is far more complicated than they just don't care. Pause for a second and think about someone like this in your life. Do you actually know why they're like that? Or have you just assumed the worst? Here's what's really going on, in simple terms. People who never text first usually fall into one of a few emotional patterns. And almost none of them are about not caring. The first pattern is fear of being too much. Somewhere along the way, this person learned that reaching out too often made them seem needy, clingy, annoying. Maybe a parent got irritated when they asked for attention. Maybe a friend once said, "You're so clingy," as a joke that didn't feel like a joke at all. So they built a rule for themselves. Don't initiate. Don't be the one who wants too much. Wait until someone else proves they want you first. It's not coldness. It's self-protection dressed up as distance. The second pattern is fear of rejection. This one is quieter, but just as heavy. For some people, texting first feels like handing someone a piece of their heart and waiting to see if they'll drop it. What if they don't respond? What if they take hours? What if the excitement is only on my side? So instead of risking that feeling, they simply don't send the text. Silence feels safer than the possibility of being ignored. The third pattern is low self-worth disguised as independence. Some people convince themselves and everyone around them that they're just not a big texter. That they're independent. Low maintenance. But underneath that story is often a quieter belief. Why would they want to hear from me first? I don't want to bother them. They'll reach out if they actually care. This isn't independence. It's a person who has quietly decided they are not worth prioritizing. And that's the emotional core of this entire topic. People who never text first are often fighting an invisible war inside themselves. A war between wanting connection and fearing what it costs to ask for it. Let that sink in for a moment. Because here's the twist. The people who wait to be texted first often feel unloved. Not because no one loves them, but because they've built their entire self-worth around being chosen without having to ask. If someone reaches out first, it means, I matter enough that they thought of me. If no one does, the silence becomes proof of a fear they've carried for years. I'm forgettable. I'm not important enough to remember. People only stay around when I make the effort. And that's the heartbreaking irony. The very people who avoid initiating contact are often the ones craving connection the most. They're just too afraid to risk reaching for it. Now think about real life for a second. The friend who never texts first, but lights up the moment you do reach out, laughing, engaged, present. The partner who seems distant through the week, but the second you show up, holds on tighter than anyone. The family member who never calls, but saves every voice message you've ever sent them. These aren't signs of not caring. They're signs of someone who learned, somewhere along the way, that initiating love is dangerous. That reaching out first means risking rejection. That waiting feels safer than wanting. Here's a question worth sitting with. What if the people who never text first aren't emotionally distant? What if they're emotionally exhausted from being the one who always got left on read, growing up, in friendships, in love? What if silence isn't apathy? What if it's armor? This is where most people get it wrong. We assume effort equals love. We assume initiation equals importance. So when someone doesn't text first, we assume we don't matter to them. But sometimes, the deepest love hides behind the most silence. Not because it isn't there, but because the person carrying it never learned it was safe to show it first. So here's the truth this video wants to leave you with. If you're someone who always texts first, know this. Your effort isn't weakness. It's bravery. You choose connection even when it's uncertain. That's rare. That's beautiful. Don't let anyone make you feel too much for caring. And if you're someone who never texts first, someone who waits in silence, hoping someone notices you exist, hear this gently. You are allowed to reach out. You are allowed to be the one who starts the conversation. You are allowed to want connection without waiting for proof that you deserve it. Because the truth is, the people worth keeping in your life won't punish you for reaching first. They'll be relieved you finally did. So maybe, just maybe, today is the day you send that text. Not because you have to, but because somewhere, someone is waiting in silence too, hoping you'll be the one to remind them they're not forgettable. Be that person. For them. And for yourself.